Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Minorities in Cybersecurity Community Call, our first one of the year. Although I was looking at the calendar, and 22 days. It seems like it's been long already. I guess for me, it has been an extension of 2021. I mean, sorry, 2020. It's like hasn't ended, but in certain ways it has, and in certain ways it hasn't. So our leadership quote for today, I'm giving you my Uncle Ben Spider-Man reference here. With great power comes great responsibility, and we'll get into that a little bit as we continue our topic of discussions today. As always, if this is your first time, Chatham House rules apply. There's no real reason to. You can talk about what we talked about here, but no reason to give affiliation for what we're doing. Be respectful and professional at all times, and everything you say is a reflection of your brand. We will be moving these community calls to the third Friday of the month instead of the fourth Friday of the month. I thought better because we missed the call in November and December, so I just moved it up a week so we won't run into the holiday season for the most part with the third Friday of the month. Same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, which is where I am in Texas. Community updates. Of course, our IT support and web development person, Shirag, who's on the phone. Hey, Shirag. Robin Red is our community engagement organizer. Again, follow us on the socials if you're not following us on at Might Leadership and myself. You know my name, at Mary N. Chaney. I always remember the middle initial. Upcoming events. So we have some great stuff coming up, and I'm excited about all the things that we plan for, at least the first quarter. We have at least, several things going on, and more events will be planned in the future. But February 19th to 22nd, for all of you folks out there that went to a historically Black college or university, alumni of it, have friends that go to it, our current our wonderful vice president, and I actually am an HBCU grad from law school as well. So we're having SANS is having a cyber range competition, and it's going on from February 19th to 22nd. They have some cool prizes. So if you are, or if you know anybody from an HBCU perspective, I sent an email out. So hopefully you guys are on a mailing list. If you didn't, you can check the Minorities in Cybersecurity LinkedIn and or Facebook page. You can be found on either, and actually Twitter. I think I posted on Twitter as well. So we have that event coming up in February. In March, I'm very excited to announce that we'll be holding a cybersecurity resume writing workshop. Specifically, cybersecurity resume writing. I think that there are a lot of challenges for folks, and with the AI technology that spits out certain resumes, if you have a spelling error, or you don't have the right certification on there, or the AI is not really doing, what you needed to do, or you're not getting calls back, we're going to be talking about all of that stuff on March 17th. I did create the registration page. I haven't done any announcements. You guys are the first to hear. If you want to go ahead and register right now, because you have to register for the event, you can go out to our website and click on either our calendar for upcoming events, or you can at the top of the bar at the top, it'll be Mike calendar, event calendar, and you can click on that and you can register through there. I suggest that, for those that are looking, that think they might be looking, that are transitioning, I think that workshop will be very beneficial for everybody. Also, in April, we have, and that's a TBD on the date, we are partnering with Bloomberg. They want to hold a recruitment session where they're actively sourcing for minority talent. And so they're going to be talking about the jobs that are available at Bloomberg and how you go about applying for those jobs. So a lot of nice things happening in this first quarter of this year, and we're just going to keep rolling with it, right? Our community forums are open after these calls for members. If you are a member, we do have open forums that you can either start a conversation. I would love to continue this particular conversation with our membership, just to see what you guys really feel, if you're not comfortable having or sharing those thoughts today. But I hope you guys are, because I really want to hear your input. We had 4 different job postings this month. Our newest corporate member is Millennial Corporation. They have 3 positions in various areas of the country: DevSecOps engineer, a red team security engineer, exploit developer / reverse engineer. Those, go out and look at those jobs. They're specifically targeted, again, for minorities and women. That's what we do here. And then Zoom has a cyber workplace investigator that they actually was trying to get me to apply for, but I said we can post it on the site instead. So again, membership, if you're not a member, our prices are still the same. We haven't changed them. Students are $49, nonprofit and government is $149, and professionals $249. Like I said, our newest corporate member, if you work for a company and you want to bring them into the membership fold, again, they can post jobs for free. I get a lot of questions about how do you go about posting jobs. Members can post jobs for free. So you can join just to post those jobs. So I'm going to, I did not download this. I apologize. I'm going to have to pull up, Mary, the one pager that you have, so you can go through the process of introducing. I'd like to, excitingly announce a budding partnership with Matheson. Matheson is an organization, like many of the organizations that we like to partner with, that specifically cater or would like to get minority talent, and they have the job opportunities available to them. So let me pull this up before I turn this over to you, Mary, really quickly. I thought I did everything I was supposed to do today, but evidently I did not. So, oh, come on. It's going to be mad at me because I'm sharing an application and not the screen. Hold on. All right. No, I still don't want to go over there. All right, let's see what we got here. Here we go. All right, Mary, I'm going to turn this over to you so you can discuss Matheson.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary. Hi, everyone. As Mary said, my name is Mary, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about my company, Matheson. Really simply, we're out here trying to help people get jobs with employers who are committed to inclusion. We are a newer platform. So when you visit Matheson or members.matheson.io, you're going to see a fairly simple page to set up a profile. Because we are a newer platform, I would say you have less competition when it comes to being seen by our employers. Matheson partners with over 70 different companies right now and typically has over 200 job opportunities on our job board. We like to think of ourselves like Apple, and that we have new releases coming out weekly. So whether you create your profile tonight or you wait a couple of weeks, there's always going to be new features on the platform. To create a profile, it should be very simple. The one thing I ask you to do is when you reach your About Me section, that you add hashtag MIC. And the reason we do that is very important. At Matheson, we're not just out here trying to be recruiters. We're trying to have a degree of impact. So Every time someone is hired on the Matheson platform, we give back to our network of partners. And even better, if one of you are hired from this organization, we're going to donate directly back to minorities in cybersecurity. And the reason we have this model is so that, Mary can build out the offering, have more partnerships like the ones with Bloomberg, have more events for you all, and ultimately, you have a more vibrant community. If you have any questions, my email is on this page, which I believe will be sent out later. It's just mary@matheson.io. If you want to learn more about how you can connect with our talent advocates or see who we're partnered with as a company, send me an email, find me on LinkedIn. I'm here to be your resource. Does anybody have?
I was talking on mute. Did we have any questions out there for Mary?
The one thing I will add is important, and I sometimes overlook it, is we are free. And I think it's important to say that we're always going to be free for our job seekers, never collecting any sort of payment.
Yeah. That's awesome. So remember, #MIC when you go create your profile, that, relationships building in regards to being able to give back. If one of you actually are hired through the Matheson platform, that helps both Matheson and your career as well as our nonprofit as we're trying to build things out. And of course, I'm always about bringing jobs to our members and in our community, really. These calls are open to anybody that's interested in seeking and benefiting from this. So, that's my mission, is to be of service, and I'm very excited about this partnership that we have going with Matheson. So I will pause there again. I know this group is usually a quiet group. I'm hoping in 2020 you guys start talking a little bit more. Maybe? No? Questions before we could? We got a question. Look at that. Somebody said yes. I heard them. Who was it?
Hello?
Oh, was that just background noise? Yes, hello.
Hey, Mary, it's Leslie. I'm sorry, I'm driving. Quick question. The jobs with Matheson, are they in a specific area or are they in different cities?
That's a good question. So primarily we have roles on the East Coast and in California. However, I will say that our employers over the last now 12 months almost have opened up to remote opportunities. So more often than not, we're a national opportunity offering.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. So let's get started with our conversation today. So the conversation and what the topic of discussion for today is on this idea of what in the world is going on, and having just a real open conversation about underrepresentation in roles, regardless of race. And this is the premise of the conversation. So everybody, unfortunately, was witness to this insurrection that happened, or attempted coup that happened on January the 6th. And I spend a lot of time talking to people. I spend time in my own mind, and there are several things that I would love to get your feedback on. And I'm going to start it off with the technology side, right? As you guys know, the former president was kicked out of I was going to say LinkedIn. He was kicked off of Twitter. He was kicked off of Facebook. He was kicked off of YouTube. He was kicked off of all of his platforms that he was utilizing to incite this violence. And so my question to you, and I really would like somebody to take this up, is what role do you think these technology companies play in the responsibility that they have when you have, you know, people that are using their platform to ultimately attempt to commit crime? Where does the line get drawn between free speech, and you know, you guys know I'm a lawyer, so I have an answer for myself, but free speech and corporate responsibility or corporate ethics? And if you don't feel comfortable speaking up, you can use the chat button, and I'll have Shirag read the questions if you have chat. But I really would like to know, you know, what do you guys think? Does Facebook have or Facebook or Twitter or any of these platforms have a responsibility to police, so to speak, what's going on their platform?
Mary?
Yes.
Hey, it's Leslie. Yes. I believe that because they are a corporation, they do have a responsibility as to what they allow on their platforms. And I know that they believe that there's a fine line between freedom of speech and policing, but I think that as a corporation, you should be responsible for what you are allowing to be posted. And if you know that it's going to create negativity and chaos, I do think that you have the right as a corporation to do something about it, such as shutting down their account. And I don't think that you should feel guilty, and I don't think that they should have allowed it to go on as long as they did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on, anybody else jump in there. You guys are in the field, right? And so you have to have an opinion, I believe, or feel a certain kind of way about what happened, and not only what happened, but, you know, what is technology's role? Well, okay. Well, I'll continue to talk and you guys just cut me off. I mean, the way I thought about it was free speech, right? Free speech, the right to free speech is a government. You have the right to free speech, and the government can't punish you for speaking out. But there are laws called libel and slander. You just can't say anything that you want to say. And I think that many of the platforms, especially social media platforms that we created these, and I say we as a collective community in technology, and we just let it run wild, right? So, you know, I often say you had a young man in Mark Zuckerberg who was an introvert that really didn't know how to talk to girls. You know, essentially that's what it was, in my opinion. Create a platform and called it social media, but you let an antisocial person tell you what social is. And so where we are right now is in a position where we have a bunch of people that are living in their own echo chamber, right? You have your phone and you choose your platforms, and you know, you go through and you like something, and those algorithms themselves are designed to give you what you want, right? So if you like a certain post, you know, you're going to get more of that in your feed, especially if you're a scroller. I'm not a scroller. And so, you know, you're listening to this, or you're interacting with yourself, really. I mean, when you're looking at any type of screen, any thoughts that's going on in your head is created by you. You're literally talking to yourself. So I got to thinking about AI, and I got to thinking about these algorithms that are created. And these algorithms are ultimately created, you know, there's a lack of diversity in programming. There's a lack of transparency in how these algorithms are built. But you can kind of sort of guess, you know, you have algorithms that are created by young white males. So what do you have? You have a platform that is designed to be, you know, not only young white males, but angry young white males. And so the platform itself, as it's reverberating to, as it's giving you what you want, you are now turning into, regardless of race, color, sex, an angry white man, really, as you're viewing this stuff. So I was thinking about that. I was thinking about diversity in algorithms. I was thinking about how does someone become radicalized? Any other military people or law enforcement people on the call? Am I the only one? I'm the only one that's going to admit it. So you had the insurrection. So as I was sitting here and I was watching the insurrection, um, I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing. As a former FBI agent, I mean, there are so many different areas and levels that my gut reaction was really heartbreak. That was my first reaction. I was heartbroken because I know what we do as law enforcement to prepare. Because I went on drug raids in the middle of South Central Los Angeles, and I know if we were going to pick up 5 people, there was an enormous presence of law enforcement, whether it be LAPD, the DEA, LASD, FBI. I went on several of those raids in Watts, in Compton, and there were more police officers in those raids than I actually saw at the Capitol. And so, and there are always meetings. You meet even at, oh God, you used to meet at 4 o'clock in the morning before heading out to run these raids, and it was always effectively coordinated. So as I was watching this insurrection, and I said, they weren't prepared, and they, of course, from a racial perspective, if we want to, and we definitely want to bring that in. It didn't look anything like the Capitol looked with the Black Lives Matter protest. And, you have this sentiment in law enforcement, and there's this underlying supremacy, especially to the types of people in general that are attracted to military and law enforcement and different things like that. I was one, I experienced it, the supremacy or the thought of supremacy when I was training in the FBI. So, as we were sitting and watching, I was just really in awe and shock and heartbroken because I said, how in the world, what in the hell is going on and how do we get here? How did we get here? And so that got me to thinking about radicalization. So there's an age range for males, all males, around, I think it's 18 to about 24. This is what they teach you. This is what I was taught, part of what I was taught when we start talking about intelligence and we start talking about terrorist organizations. There's an age range between 18 and 25, 26 that men are ultimately susceptible to being radicalized. And so, again, as I sat and I watched this and I said to myself, A, why aren't these people at work? And then you had the one guy with his work badge on that was caught on camera, which was ironic. And two, how did they get to the point where they're this angry where, outside of the, anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, anti-everything other than white male sentiment of what was going on in the Capitol, why are they so angry? And I have my thoughts on that, but I'm curious to see or curious to know, how do you guys experience or have you guys experienced just over the course of the past 4 years and even a little bit before that during the Obama presidency, a ultimate anger by Caucasians against anybody of color or have you guys felt that? Come on, I can't talk to myself. You guys can't just listen. You have to participate. This is an open discussion. Now, I know you folks in Texas, the ones that are here in Texas, you felt it. And I felt it in Pennsylvania. Um, you know, what is it? When is it? How? What type of scenarios are you in? And Frank, I see you, and I'm gonna call you out because you put it in the chat. Can you talk, or you just can chat?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I was just nervous to talk.
Okay.
I live in a neighborhood that is mostly white,
Mhm.
and there seems to be a lot of Trump supporters that live in this area.
Mhm.
And they just seem to be, you can feel the tension that comes from them, and
Mhm.
that makes me nervous. Uh,
Mhm.
so most of the time, I try to avoid, and it's simple situations like going to the grocery store
Mhm.
or going to a restaurant. I just try to avoid them as quickly as possible. I try to stay there for a very short time, and if I can completely avoid it, I just do that.
Yeah. You're not alone, Frank. Well, I can tell you in 2020 alone, concluding on Christmas Day, I have purchased, and I'm in Texas, I purchased 3 guns last year. I have my concealed carry permit. I'm armed everywhere I go outside of my door, and armed very much inside my house. Um, but the anxiousness that I've felt, and I live in a very diverse neighborhood. It I picked this particular neighborhood for its diversity, but that still doesn't mean there aren't Trump flags and it made me, on the one hand, anxious, but on the other hand, I always felt like, don't try me, just please. And I didn't, and it's usually when I'm with my children that I get more anxious. I have my son who's 15, he's about 6'2" at 15. And then we have my daughter, she's 13. And, for the most part all year, they haven't really been going out with me. But I always fear or always feel like, I have to be on guard, which causes stress in of itself, right? That you have to be in a situation where you have to keep your head on the swivel in your own neighborhood. And so I'll ask you this, Frank, did you feel any type of relief whatsoever when the election happened, or did it become more stressful?
Relief. I really think the Donald Trump was making some people feel that it was okay to be like that, and he
Mhm.
just brought them out of their shell. It's been
Mhm.
there, but it was frowned
Mhm.
upon by
Mhm.
him, like being like he was, kind of made them feel like, oh yeah, it's fine, and I have so many
Mhm.
people that agree with me, so let's do this. So I'm hoping that with the new administration, and especially with him being out of office, um, I would have been okay with another Republican to be in office, as long as it wasn't him. I don't
Mhm.
see. I really wasn't a big Biden supporter,
Mhm.
but the way I was thinking is, I just want this man out of office
Mhm.
and get things
Mhm.
back to the way they used to. So it was a
Mhm.
relief to me, and I'm hoping it gets much better after this election.
Mhm. Anybody else want to chime in here?
Hi, Talisa's here.
Hi, Talisa.
Hi. Well, I was just listening in. I'm based in New York, but I can't even imagine how Texas is. 'Cause I mean, we felt pressure over here, but I know Texas is much worse with like the overt racism. So I was a bit relieved once Kamala and Biden came into office. Same thing as Frank. I just wanted Trump out of office. And I feel like during the Trump era, he used a lot of language to incite the racism to come about. So, you know, a lot of, you know, Caucasians felt more comfortable during that era, and I hope it ends, honestly.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in? Because you guys know I can talk, you know. Well, you know, I was in corporate, right, when Barack got elected. And it was this sense of racism doesn't exist anymore, right? And even the challenges that I was experiencing in the Obama years, there was this highly sarcastic or elite opinion, especially by us who identify as middle of the road or liberals, that, oh, we have a black president, that doesn't happen anymore. And I remember oftentimes saying, yeah, okay, this country is a racist country, period. There is a lot of stuff going on. This country fails to consistently live up to the words that they, you know, the founders put on paper. And so you can tell me, you know, everything you want about Barack Obama being president, but you started, if you were following politics during his years, there was a lot of stuff he couldn't get done, that he couldn't say, just based on the fact that he was a black man. I noticed that, and I know a lot of you, you know, weren't avid Biden supporters, but there's a lot of things Biden can do for the black community that Barack Obama just couldn't do. As a white man sitting up there saying and talking about white supremacy and it being terrorist, Barack Obama could never have said that. So I challenge you guys to know that you have a quote unquote woke old man. He's older, yes, but he's woke. And what I mean by that is look at all of the people that he was the vice president to a black man, and he brought a black woman into the office with him as a running partner. I don't think any other white man could have pulled that off other than Joe Biden. And I understand that he, you know, he's just another old white man, but there are things that old white man can do that a younger person or, you know, a person of color just couldn't do. I mean, look at the cabinet. Look at all of the people that are, you know, I think his cybersecurity, the person that he's putting in cybersecurity is a black female. I believe, at least somebody told me that. I don't know if it's cybersecurity or somewhere else. But, you know, there are things that he can do that nobody else could do. I mean, and so he could sit up there and say, black people, y'all have my back and I'll have yours. Barack could have never said that. You know, they would have ran him out of there. So I challenge you guys. I know, you know, yeah, I'm not excited over Biden, but Biden could do more for us as minorities and women than Barack Obama could have ever done, or any other person, just because he's part of that old guard, right? He's part of that environment, what he's been in politics for, you know, half a century or whatever. At least I think even before I was born. I'm not 50 quite yet. I'm getting there. But I just, you know, even though you may not be excited about him, just recognize what he can potentially get accomplished that no other person could get accomplished, because, like I said, he's part of that community. And again, he's bringing a lot of, I mean, we had, well, that was Stacey Abrams that got and we could talk about the Black women behind the scenes that ultimately are responsible for a lot of this. But, we have our first Jewish senator. We have our first African-American senator out of, Georgia. We have our first, what was confirmed, defense secretary, a Black man. You have you have Pete Buttigieg that was there with his husband. So LGBTQ. I mean, and then there's even staff. If you look around you, there is reason to be hopeful. It's like we're pulling this country to a space whereby we are going to now live up or attempt to live up to the ideas of this country which are that everybody that comes here, no matter what race, national origin, religion, or what, can be successful. We are unique as the United States of America. Yes, there is an underlying sentiment in white males and white women too. I mean, I don't. But okay, let's take the young lady that got killed. Okay, now first and foremost, if you saw the video, let me tell you something about law enforcement. Now, the young lady out of California that got shot and killed in the Capitol, they're banging on this window and they see the gun. Okay, now I guarantee you that cop is telling them, do not come through that window. Do not come through this window or you going to get shot. Do not. And I'm going to climb through the window. And she got shot. And so, but when you look, you take her and you say, okay, why is she so angry? She had a loan. She was a veteran, but she had a loan. She had a small business, a pool supply company, I think it was. Her interest rate on her loan was 186%. That's a reason for me to be angry. That's an economic issue. She was a veteran, and we start talking about radicalization. She's a veteran that came home after serving her country only to be put up under, couldn't get a loan, or maybe it was the economic, a PPP, I don't know, but 186%. You can't, that's going to be hard to get from up under, in that regard. And so that's another reason outside of being racist that she was there. She's angry. And so you have these communities and Mary and I was talking about this actually. You have these communities, just if you look at it from poor people perspective. So if we start talking about the Native Americans and you start talking about the drug problems that they have on the reservations, and then you start looking at the Black community and you see with the crack epidemic and the drug, we have that. We have to own that. And now you look at this opioid addiction. People turn to drugs to escape their reality because they don't have a job to go to. Well, a lot of white people, white males, essentially could, let's say 50 years ago, 25 years ago, go get a job at a plant and have a middle-class lifestyle for them and their kids. They live in a rural area. They could have farming. They could have this. They can have that. And so they could, financially take care of themselves. But then you get to a situation where the plant goes away, the coal mine goes away, all of these things go away, and they're stuck. And whether they're a veteran, whether they're, poor, they're forgotten and they're angry. And like I said, I'm not justifying the actions. I'm just saying, and to be empathetic and to realize that there are some people that have other reasons outside of being racist that they're angry, but they're susceptible to the belief that, Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi is eating babies. I don't know. But you have to, we as a community have to understand. We don't have to agree with it. We can sarcastically sit back and say, look, white man, all you had to do was get a high school education or a college education, because I have a law degree and I've worked for people that are making twice as much as me, that they could have a liberal arts degree and they're working in cybersecurity. And so there is a leg up that they have, but that challenge there is to understand that they're outside of racism. There are real economic problems that we have in this country, that we're leaving our poor behind. The shrinking of the middle class, they always talk about that. We are leaving a certain aspect of our communities behind, and they're angry. The jobs aren't there. The job market is tanked. You have this pandemic. Nobody wants to wear a mask, and we are in a space right now that it's hard to remain hopeful. I'm an optimist, right? I attempt to remain hopeful, but trying to understand the other side, I think, and showing that empathy is important, I think. But I mean, getting back to my original conversation about our role, right, as technologists. So are we all aspiring, cybersecurity, or even those in technology or those trying to get into technology? And we've had this lack of corporate ethics, with a lot of these larger companies that, now what are we going to do? Now you have AI, right? You have, smart vehicles. You have all of these. Technology is just going to keep moving. So how do we now get our voices heard, and so we won't continue to become a bunch of angry white men? That's my question. I mean, I'm in, on the, I don't develop. I'm not a developer. We have any developers on the line today? Coders, software folks? Anybody that in their other lives, start to try to handle diversity in software development and, have any experience in that? No, no one. I mean, as we start talking about what we need to do and how we need to start to think about things from a diversity perspective, and what role we play. A lot of times we as technologists can become detached with what's going on around the world, but the world dictates how we now respond to some of these activities. I mean, Chris Krebs went out there and told everybody, he's a Republican, he said that the election was the most secure in history. But you have a whole bunch of people that, up until Inauguration Day thought Donald Trump was going to remain president, right? And somehow, some way, I think the QAnon folks thought that, I don't know, anybody familiar with QAnon, but they thought, okay, besides the baby thing, I guess they thought that everybody that was there and all the former presidents was going to die. I'm trying to figure out what they were thinking when the inauguration happened. I saw a bunch of chatter about them being disappointed, but what did they think was going to happen? Anybody know that? You guys don't follow the news. You don't follow these crazy people. You need to know about these crazy people. These crazy people are your neighbors, right? That's why I have guns. Y'all don't see. You guys are missing the whole point.
I saw the same thing that you saw. Apparently, and I don't understand it myself. I don't know what QAnon was expecting, but I did see that there was a disappointment from some of their believers, and at the same time, it kind of what is the word? They were not only disappointed, but discouraged, to where they were at a point of disbelief, to where they were about to turn their back on this QAnon thing. but I don't know why, and I'd like to know too.
Yeah, I mean, and now I saw something about they switched it and said that Biden is in it with Trump. Conspiracy theories and disinformation and misinformation is something that always intrigues me because, again, that's the social platforms are giving you what you want. You dive down this YouTube hole, right? And I caution my children, don't go with the suggestions. Go with what you actually went to YouTube to watch. When you start clicking on all of these other things, then that becomes this profile that they're using against you. But it's like, where do you go to get to down that hole that you really think people are eating babies? I don't, and then, I mean, you've had these cult-like personalities our whole lives, right? I mean, what was these people down what was it? Kevorkian? No, that's the Dr. Kevorkian. Who was the guy down here in Texas, I think, that had the ranch that the FBI messed up? Throughout our history, there have been these folks, these cult-like personalities that people follow and they believe, and you just like, where did we go wrong? Is it just social media, or is it a failure in our communities? I actually, and I'll tell you guys this, and the lady, the African American woman that does my locks, she voted for Trump, and I couldn't believe that it was. I could not. And it was after the election that I actually asked her, and I think I would have been a little bit more irritated if I asked her if the election didn't turn out the way it did. But I wanted to find out, exactly what made you think that. Yes, David Caress in Waco. That's right. Thank you, Frank. What is it about Trump that makes you think he's on your side? And, we had this conversation. Of course, it takes 2 hours to do my hair. So we had at least an hour-long conversation. And she was throwing everything at me. What makes you think that, Joe Biden's going to do anything for you? And I said, I'm not looking for anybody to do anything for me. I said, character matters to me. Leadership matters to me. Actually being honest matters to me. She's like, well, I don't care about those things. And at that particular point, there's nothing else we have to say. We don't have to talk about it anymore because we don't value the same things. And so it was at that point where I was just like, she still does my hair. She does an awesome job. So I'm not mad. She gave me a nice little cute cut. It's okay. But, as far as, is this somebody that I would break bread with? Is this somebody, I would probably go out to dinner with her and everything like that, but it would still be this, we don't value the same things. When you tell me that honesty doesn't matter to you, that says a lot about your character, right? Does that make sense? And so, do anybody else know anybody that voted for Trump? That was the only person that and it was a black woman, and I was just like, what? And she was mad. Her excuse about Kamala was something like, she read something, I don't know where she read this from because I never heard it. She read something that Kamala said that, something about prostitution should be legal or something like that. And I said, so you holding that against Kamala, against the man that said he could just go grab women by the, what? Those were his own words. And so I'm trying to figure out if anybody actually had a conversation with an actual Trump supporter. I'm the only one. Do you guys talk to people?
Hi. Hi, this is Toyin. So I'm here in Texas. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm here in Texas as well, and I have neighbors that put the signs out for Trump and everything, and I'm not, I guess, not to be political, just like what you said, though, it's beyond the parties. It's like the character of the person. And I would say I did not have a conversation with any of them because I didn't feel like we had a place of understanding to even start speaking about it, because I kind of understand if you go vote and you don't put anything out, but when you put something out, that's even more of a support. But just going back to what you had mentioned before, though, even though there is a breath of relief, there is still over 1 million people that still believe this way and voted for him. So I guess my thinking and my hope, these people are our neighbors. They are, I don't know, our children's teachers and people we interact with every day. I think there's a lot more that we can all do, not to convert people, but just to have, I don't know, some kind of understanding of what is it that you expect? Because like 1 million people, that's a lot of people. I was still very surprised.
No, 70 million people voted for him. No, 70 million people voted for him.
I was just talking about the difference. Yeah, the difference.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I still think about it today. Like, yes, someone else got in, but there is a lot more work that has to be done from the community level. How you relate to people every day. Yeah, anyway.
No, I completely agree. Sometimes it's a lot of times with Trump supporters that I've come across that have their MAGA hats on, they are angry, and so there is no space to have a conversation with an angry person. I mean,
right.
And so, you know, and I actually had to pull it out, my loctician, because I was vote, and I was trying to tell everybody I know to vote. And then after I went to see her after the election, I said, "You voted for Trump, didn't you?" And I expected her to say no. I was just joking, but then she said, "Yeah, I did." And I was like, "Oh Lord." So it was like I said, the election was over. But it just, I was able to, you know, take my emotion out of it. And I said, forget the politics of it. He's just not a good person. He is not somebody that you're going to tell your kids that that's who you should act like. I said, and when she said that didn't matter to her, that just really, like I said, solidified that we don't have a common ground, really, if we don't value the same thing in leadership. And this is part of what we are doing here today as far as leadership and creating leaders and what that should ultimately be and look like. And so it was kind of weird, and, you know, but it was more weird for me that here you have, I didn't know too many Black women that would, I mean, the numbers were so low, even on exit polls. It was just like I was talking to this unicorn, like, really? But you know what? And I know we're almost up on time, but I have a question for you guys, because I find that I can now pinpoint the people who spend a lot of time on social media just by their thought process and the way they're speaking. Can you guys, because unless you guys are some of the zombies, I call them zombies, that literally when you're talking to them, they're speaking and they're somewhat detached from reality. And that's how I kind of pegged her, because if all you're doing is getting your information from the phone or even the television and you're not educating yourself, you know, that's a problem. Do you guys see that? Do you guys know people that are just really, that you need to take their phone and just say stop? Or are you guys the zombies? You guys are part of the zombies? I'm coming to get you.
This is Toyin again. Something I wanted to speak to real quick, based on, so the threat security like most of us, but like the threat intel side of it, some of my friends and team members that work in threat intel, when they speak to the type of robust infrastructure that's in place just to spread disinformation, it doesn't surprise me as much when you hear the crazy talk, because when they talk to how it actually happens and it functions and how you're shown, once you fall into a certain bucket, you're shown certain things, and then you keep going down the rabbit hole. It's not that much hard to say, okay, yeah, that's why they're saying crazy things. So we do have a lot of work on the security side of things on how to combat disinformation. It's really big. It's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's going to be the next on the horizon, the next set of jobs that come out, because, you know, and I don't know if you guys watch Social Dilemma. If you haven't, I suggest you do. Me and my children watched it, and it broke down. And there were people, that technologists that were, you know, founders in some of these companies that are saying, we just can't, you know, let this run wild. You know, there are some guardrails that have to be created. And again, the regulation, unless you know, I know they don't want to be regulated, but you get so big, you know, the government's going to have to step in and do something. But until another day, guys, I know, you know, it's at the top of the hour. So I want to thank you guys so much for being involved in our first community call. Please register for our, if you so feel the need to do, register for our resume writing workshop. I think it's going to be great. Thank you guys so much for attending, and we'll talk again next month. But for those that are members, we can continue the conversation on our internal chat. So have a great weekend. Stay safe and be good. Thanks.
You too. Thank you.
Mary.
Bye-bye.